All right, today we're going to untangle some really deep connections. Things like our desire for control, our experiences with trauma, and what it actually means to let go, to surrender. It's more complicated and way more interesting than you might think.
So, let's just kick things off with a huge question, right? One that kind of shapes everything, from our closest relationships to, well, our place in the entire universe. How much are we really the ones steering the ship? To really dig into this, we've got to start by looking at how we deal with the dynamics of power. That push and pull that happens in our lives every single day.
Okay, so let's dive right in by looking at two total extremes on the power spectrum. These are two situations where the word surrender gets used, but honestly, it means something completely, fundamentally different in each one. And I mean, look at this contrast. It is stark. On one side, you have this structured, totally consensual exchange of power. It's built on trust, on rules. And on the other, you've got the traumatic chaos of forced submission, where power is just taken.
In that first world, think about this. A single word, a safe word, means you have absolute power and safety. It's proof that a real, genuine surrender can only happen when the person who is surrendering actually holds the ultimate power to stop everything, at any time. Consent is everything here.
But then you look at the other world, the kind we see in these brutal Shakespearean tragedies. Here, violation just completely erases a person's agency. There's no negotiation. It just leads to this awful, destructive cycle of trauma and revenge. Power isn't a tool here, it's a weapon.
So let's shift a little. When you're faced with an attack, and that could be anything from something physical to, say, a wave of online hate, how much power do you really have in your own internal response? Let's check that out.
Well, one way our brains try to cope is through something called projection. From a feminist viewpoint looking at trauma, it's seen as this really complex defense mechanism. We try to understand the person hurting us by creating a story for them, giving them motives, basically trying to make sense of something that feels senseless.
But then, there's a totally different playbook. It's the kind of advice you hear for dealing with things like a cyber mob. It's basically radical detachment. The whole idea is to just refuse to let it in, to understand that their aggression is about them, not you. And you can see this creates a critical choice in how we deal with hostility, right? Do you lean in? Do you engage with the attack and try to figure out the why behind it? Or do you lean out, put up a wall, and choose not to let it mess with your inner world? It's really a choice about where you put your energy. Now let's pull the camera back, way, way back. We're going to see how this idea of control and surrender builds when we go from our own minds to the biggest picture there is, the cosmos itself. I want you to picture something like a total solar eclipse. It's one of those moments that just hammers home that there are forces out there that are so far beyond any one person's control. You can't stop it, you can't change it, all you can do is watch. And when you're watching something like that, you feel this incredible sense of cosmic awe, but also you feel profoundly powerless. In that moment, there's a kind of surrender, not to a person, but to the pure, unbelievable scale of the universe. An experience like that, it really makes you stop and ask yourself, what does my own free will even mean in the face of all this? If we're all just subject to these giant, unstoppable cosmic forces, where does our individual choice fit in?
And maybe, just maybe, true freedom isn't about trying to control everything. Maybe it's found in accepting our tiny part in this huge, uncontrollable system. It's a kind of philosophical surrender to the big picture.
So, we've looked at consent, we've looked at trauma, we've even looked at the cosmos. Let's try to bring all these different threads together and build a richer, more powerful idea of what it really means to surrender.
Because what we've seen is that surrender isn't just one thing. It's not simply giving up. It's this whole spectrum. It can be a structured, consensual exchange of power. It can be a conscious psychological choice to protect your own mind, or it can be this profound philosophical acceptance of the way things are. And this is the crucial takeaway, right here. Understanding all these different types of surrender gives us a whole new language for navigating life. It helps us see the idea not as weakness, but as a really complex and sometimes incredibly strategic human response to power. So I'll just leave you with this to think about. Where do we find real strength? Is it in that constant fight for absolute control over everything around us, or is it in the wisdom and maybe even the courage to know when and how to let go?